Alrighty, good afternoon all. Welcome to another Beekeeping with Brian video. In this session we're going to do a full beehive inspection of my number 2 hive. It's quite a strong hive, it's not an overly aggressive hive, but that said, I don't take chances. I always wear my PPE, being my beekeeping suit. Thanks for joining me, by the way. You've missed me smoking up the front of the hive. Always do that, mostly because it's just better for the bees. They get less agitated. Nobody likes being agitated. If you haven't seen one of my videos before, this hive is a Langstroth hive. The swarm inside, it's probably about 3 seasons old. Queen's pretty healthy. And if you're wondering what these are EPS foam insulation panels. And I've cut them to shape because where I live, it snows in winter. We're a bit cooler than Melbourne, up here in the Dandenong Ranges, and it's just the best way for them to survive, really. I've had uninsulated hives and they've all struggled and I've lost a few, so I always insulate my hives. If you enjoy my content, by the way, awesome if you'd subscribe. I am trying to grow this channel. Yeah, let's get into it. Come on, girls. First thing I have to do is take the insulation panels off, and the way this hive is set up, it's actually pretty easy. As you can see, not a lot of tension required to hold these things on. And in winter, by the way, I actually add a bit of a windbreak as well. So those of you, particularly in the States where you've got lots of snow and cold, you'll know that windbreaks make all the difference, because they actually, even though you've got insulation, if you stop that air movement back and forth with a windbreak, your hive will do so much better. Now, as you can see, all these panels pretty much cut to size. Boom, boom, off we go. And this one here, cut to shape as well. Yeah, I know, not the tidiest, but hey, it works. So let's get into it. First thing I do with any beehive inspection, and I will let you know that if any of you are Lord of the Rings fans, and you remember The Hobbit, how the dragon had a hole under its armour, well, I have a hole in my beekeeping suit right under my wing here, so if the bees find that, I am in trouble. And you'll know pretty quickly because I'll start hopping around. Love having all my gear close by. Now, in this beehive inspection, as with most at this time of year, I'm really concerned mostly with swarming signs and how well they're doing building up honey. This hive I love. I get to look at this each time. I should scrape it out, but I just can't bring myself to. I think that's almost a work of art. Look at that. It's called burr comb, but they've done such a great job of it. I just can't bring myself to destroy it. I should though, but it's not hurting anyone. Almost as if they know not to build it above the level of their normal comb. So, look at that. I know you don't like smoke, I know. Now this hive last week, I took a couple of honey cells out of it. So, it'll be interesting to see what they've done with the new ones that I put in there. That'll tell me how much honey they're making. And we've had quite a few warm, fine days last week. We've had 6 or 7 days where it's been fine. 1 or 2 of them were a bit hot. We had a 40-degree day up here and a 39-degree Celsius day. But still, where else was that? Well, it turned out the GoPro was too hot. I've never had it overheat like that before, but unfortunately we'll be flying without the GoPro this time. It's just going to be us here on good old-fashioned iPhone. So let's have a quick look. See how much honey they've put away. We have 1 empty frame. 1 empty frame. I have a frame here with some honey on it. Look at that. Glistening with honey. Bees filling it up. And while I'm at it, I'm having a good long look at my bees. Looking at their behaviours. Looking for their wings. And another thing, when you inspect a hive, not many beekeepers talk about this. You can tell a lot from the sound of the bees. These ones are pretty mellow. Can you hear them? They're pretty mellow, aren't they? But you can also tell a fair bit from the smell of a hive. And straight away, there we are. I was out here last night doing some gardening and all I could smell was honey. It was coming from this hive, and I can see why. So this hive last week, I took 2 full frames of honey from my baby hive and left a few, and so far we've got those 2 which are looking good. This one feels like it's got some weight in it. Yep, you can see that starting to fill up there. So we've got 3 frames rather, that are about half full of honey. Gosh, these honey bees are awesome. And don't forget, if you enjoy my content, do subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel. That's a wasp. What are you doing in there? That's cheeky. So these hives have been plagued by wasps over the last few days. One of the reasons, if you have a garden, you walk around, you look at it. So these bees are starting to build that out just a little bit, adding frame on it. That's actually quite a bit they've added to that in a week, considering the size of the hive. That's excellent. So yeah, I'm doing some gardening and I noticed the wasps coming in and out of a hole. So I have found the wasp nest, or one of them anyway. So tomorrow there will be much less wasps around here. It's a beautiful little frame. So 3 frames there that are about half full of honey or 2/3 full of honey, and that's it. So if you think about it, my first hive I had 2 or 3 frames of honey. This one's got 2 or 3 frames. If between them I can get 4 frames out of them, that's a good summer for me. It doesn't sound like a lot, does it? Because most beehives get a lot more than that. But up here, you get more rain. We double the rain that Melbourne gets, which means that the flowers, when they put nectar and pollen, it gets washed out pretty quickly. Then it takes a few days to recharge, and quite often it rains again before that happens. So I don't get as much of a chance to harvest as bees down on the flats. And that's why I feed a little bit more and I harvest a little bit less. I did have some friends who also had bees up here a while back, and they had a massive harvest. It was their first year beekeeping, massive harvest. And over the winter their bees died. And I think the reason was probably that they harvested a little bit too aggressively. Sad but true. I know I did it myself on one of my hives. Unfortunately the hive didn't make it through the winter. That was my fault as a beekeeper. So if I can harvest a few frames, that's awesome. But I also have to be mindful to make sure that these girls have enough to get them through the winter. And for most hives, that number is 4 frames of honey, at least 4 solid frames, but better to have 6. Because they'll have 1 frame here each on the outside as insulation. Then if I've got a second box on top, and that's, got plenty of honey in it and it's insulated, they'll be fine. But if that top box has no honey in it, and they're not insulated, I don't take it off, they die. Here we go. So this is definitely a brood frame. Mixed brood and honey, which is a bit weird. That's all right, Queenie, you do your thing pretty much anywhere. This is your level of the house. You have control. So not a lot of brood pattern going on here. A little bit of honey. And a wasp onto it as soon as I bring it out. That's all right, Waspy, I know where you live. We'll sort you out in a little while. Now, if you're wondering what this little tool I have here, this is a frame grabber, or a frame tool. Wow. Hear all those bees pouring out? Hopefully I didn't just knock the queen out. We do have a little bit of brood here, not much, so it's unlikely she's in this area. Can't see her down there. Just bees. Very good. Let's have a look in this third frame in. Another brood frame, you can tell as soon as I'm picking it up, it's very light. Nope, they've decided to put honey in that one. That's very strange. Well, we'll move that over. I'm going to put that one on the outside. The last thing I want is to have a honey sticky right in the middle. It needs to be on the outside. They're funny, these bees sometimes, aren't they? Probably because I put that one in, it already had honey on it, most likely, and they just kept on filling it up. Hey, look at them all flowing off here. Another honey sticky. Again, just going to put that one down here for a moment. Nice and gentle. Now, some people might say, well, what happens if your queen is on there? Well, that could be a problem. Probably on one of these though, looking at it. Lots of brood frame going on. Seeing a little queen cup there. I don't know if you can quite see it, but that's a queen cup. I'm not seeing lots of drones though, so the presence of a queen cup on its own doesn't bother me. The hive's got lots of room. I'm not seeing drone activity. I don't think they're in any real immediate danger of swarming. And by the way, I check bees pretty much every week. When you're a beekeeper, you can't just leave them there, particularly if you're in a residential environment. I don't want my bees swarming because they can frighten people. They also lose a lot of bees. Mix of honey and eggs and larvae. And the same here, which is a normal frame by the way. They usually have a little bit of food on the outside of the frame. So that's looking pretty good. But yeah, I don't want to frighten my neighbours. I don't want to frighten them. So check them every week. Make sure it's not about to swarm. Oh, that one's got lots of brood on it. I reckon the queen's been working here a fair bit. Still can't see her. So notice this hive isn't going bananas on me. The other one does fairly regularly. This hive's a lot more mellow. You can see one little queen cup there. So, yeah, I've got a couple of bees who are starting to bother me, but I don't blame them. But look, it's a very mellow hive altogether. And this is a honey frame. And feel the weight in that. Feel the weight in that. Now, even if I do wind up harvesting honey off one of my other hives, off this hive, I will not be harvesting that frame. If it's a full honey frame, I need to leave it there. The reason I need to leave it there, insulation and food. I do believe one of them just managed to sting me. You get used to it, you know, when you're a beekeeper. Occupational hazard. For some reason, it doesn't bother you as much after a while. Some people, you know, oh, I got stung. Don't get me wrong, I don't enjoy it. That would be very odd. But no. Just cruising along. Now on that, don't forget, if you enjoy my beekeeping videos, it would be awesome if you could subscribe to my channel. I am trying to grow it. Also, I can share my learnings. As you can see, I'm very casual, very down to earth. Just an Aussie backyard beekeeper. Been doing this nearly 7 years. Fun fact, not many people will know this. Long ago there was another famous Kiwi. I'm a Kiwi, by the way. Now his name was Sir Edmund Hillary. And Sir Edmund Hillary was the first person, or the first Euro anyway, to actually successfully climb Mount Everest. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Now, Sir Edmund Hillary went to the same primary school that my dad subsequently went to in rural New Zealand, a place called Tuakau Primary, if you can believe that. 100% true. And funnily enough, Sir Edmund's dad, and later Sir Edmund, was a beekeeper. They had 1,200 hives to manage. And according to Wikipedia, Sir Edmund Hillary would get stung by his bees hundreds of times a week. I hope they had protective gear, but possibly not. Anywho, Sir Edmund, we'll call him Ed, shall we? Ed Hillary also became a beekeeper for a few years. Then he decided that beekeeping probably wasn't going to be for him long term. I wonder why. So he decided to do something a little bit less painful and a little bit easier. And he went and climbed Mount Everest. So for those of you that think beekeeping is easy, Well, I mean, it's not difficult, but it's not for the faint-hearted. Just remember, the man that first climbed Everest, Sir Edmund Hillary, was a beekeeper. Subsequently, that hardened him up enough, he was ready to tackle one of the world's most difficult climbs. So difficult that it's never been done before. And yes, he was a New Zealander. And yes, he did actually go to the same primary school that my dad did. Fun fact. And as you can see, I'm putting on the insulation. If you're wondering, these are maybe 25-30mm EPS foam. It's the easiest thing in the world to cut to size. So easy. And they're cheap. Much cheaper than, sourcing a new hive, for example. So here we have it. This right here. My little, well, if I get it right, there it is. I'm not very coordinated. Good thing you don't have to be coordinated to be a beekeeper. You just have to be very tolerant, laid back, good looking, all of that. Do subscribe to my channel if you can put up with the bad dad jokes and the out there stories that, believe it or not, are actually true. Wow. No, they generally are. Fun fact, I'm also a Kiwi, as you probably picked up, but I'm an Australian too now. Living in Australia for nearly 25 years. Came to Melbourne, met a beautiful Aussie girl, still with that Aussie girl actually. 27 odd years later, 26 odd years later. Had 2 boys, 2 babies, they're now grown up. So I needed something that was nearly as challenging and dangerous and demanding as being a dad. Believe me, beekeeping is, although it's all those things, it's demanding. Being a dad, it's far more demanding. I just saw one of the hugest spiders I've ever seen crawling around in my grass. You get that in their beehives, by the way. Spiders are a bit like that. But yeah, that was that hive. As you can see, they've pretty much left me alone. How cool are they? Thanks for stopping by. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe. Cheers.